accessibility. And I am bringing over Steve Prokopiou. So if I got his name correct, there we go. All right, making the adjustment here to panelist. And while Steve is joining as a panelist, I will welcome him to the TFF stage. He's going to be talking today about capabilities, skills, and roles to consider when building your COE. So Steve has worked with Tableau for a while now, since 2014. He worked 4 years at Tableau, helping clients across the globe be successful with the software. And the last 2.5 years, he worked predominantly in freelancing and interims, helping companies like Mars, Elsevier, and Inmarsat accelerate their analytics capabilities. And one of the things that I value about Steve is that he has a really great perspective with Tableau and working in even like Power BI. And so I love his industry experience that he can then bring to his talks here. So Steve, let me just check that you are on as a panelist, and you are, so I'll let you take it away.
Thanks, Emily, and good afternoon, everybody. Just want to check you can hear me okay?
Yeah, you're good. And I love the Christmassy jacket.
Yeah, I do my best. Last time I presented, I had my Star Wars Christmas jumper on. So this year I thought I'd put my my Christmas jacket on. So Merry Christmas to everybody. Let me just get organized here and just make sure I'm sharing the right screen. No pressure in terms of following Neil, Sohar, and Zach, who all did absolutely amazing talks this morning. So let me just do this and just see how we're doing here. Okay, hopefully I'm sharing the right screen. Does that look good?
Yep, capability, skills, and roles.
All right then.
Awesome, thank you.
Excellent. So thank you, Emily, for your wonderful introduction. I'm delighted to be speaking today at the Tableau Fringe Festival. Since I entered the Tableau world 6.5 years ago, I've been lucky to attend a number of excellent presentations about how to build a Centre of Excellence, or COE, around Tableau. I can remember Simon Beaumont presenting at a Tableau kickoff in 2016 about his work at Southern Health NHS, Annabelle Recon talking about Credit Suisse, and have fond memories of Mitchell Gruer's presentation at NOLA 2018 about how Cargill went from rogue to vogue on their self-service analytics journey. These talks and others have well documented the starting points for analytics, the need for change, and the subsequent journey and the benefits gained. So I thought for this talk, I would share my thoughts on the capabilities, skills, and roles required to consider when building and scaling your analytics Centre of Excellence. In the next 15 to 20 minutes, I'll be talking about these capabilities, where they could sit within your business, and how they could be organizationally structured. Please note could be, because there's no one answer to all of this, but my aim is to give you some ideas and some practical examples to keep in mind when you are starting or extending your analytics Centre of Excellence. If you do have any questions, please type them into the Q&A window and I'll answer them at the end of the presentation. A quick disclaimer that I'm representing myself in this presentation and the views expressed are my own. And a very quick introduction to myself. Emily, thank you. You did a fantastic job of pronouncing my name. I appreciate that. I've been very lucky to spend my entire career in analytics, BI, and data. I've worked for a number of major software vendors, which culminated in me spending the 4 years at Tableau that Emma mentioned from 2014 to 2018. And since 2018, I've been working predominantly as a freelance interim consultant with a focus on helping organizations build COEs, driving the adoption of analytics and the achievement of business value. My most recent role was interim director of BI and analytics at Inmarsat, the world's leading mobile satellite communications company. You're likely to have used Inmarsat's network if you've been on a plane and logged onto their Wi-Fi, and it's typically Inmarsat's satellites that your signal is bouncing off to enable you to get an internet connection. I'm very proud that in 2020, despite the pandemic headwinds, my team and I were able to grow the active analytics user base in Inmarsat by 52%. However, due to COVID budget pressures, my contract finished last week, so I'm now open for work and actively looking for my next opportunity. So a common question is, where do I start to build out a wider framework when I'm scaling out the analytics capability for my organization, or at least looking to? So a good indication is when you are getting increasing demands from the innovators and early adopters in your adoption curve, and more inquiries from the early majority. Both of these are signs that the chasm is starting to open up. So it's really a good idea when you start to see this chasm opening up, that you start planning for scale and always look to be 1 or 2 steps ahead from this point forward, and look to keep any tornadoes to a minimum. I just want to say thanks to Annabelle for this graphic, which was pinched from a title of hers earlier on this year. Prior to the chasm, you will typically have established and proven value. Crossing the chasm means putting the foundations in place for scaling at pace. A key requirement when crossing the chasm is to understand the why. The reasons why are you embarking on this analytics journey? Your analytics strategy must tie into the overall company business strategy, and it is important that every decision from this point aligns with the why. You might even go as far to define a vision or mission statement. This is the one that we used at Elsevier. Empower users to allow faster and more accurate insights through data to drive business better decisions. But why? Why would you want to do that? Examples might be to drive better decisions to retain more customers, increase market share, reduce costs, and increase in profitability. So understanding your use cases are very important about what are you going to add to the business. And one of the critical elements, if you think of Sinex 3 circles, that you will need to put in place when you move from the why to the how are the capabilities, skills, and roles to deliver the business outcomes and benefits expected by your organization. In a 2018 study, McKinsey found that 60% of the top performing companies utilizing analytics within their business had a center of gravity for their analytics efforts. The difference for these top performing companies versus the others was that their center of gravity or of excellence or enablement, whatever you want to call it, had the specific capabilities, skills, and roles in place, which would then spiral out into the wider business to accelerate the benefits gained from analytics. What McKinsey was saying was that capabilities and skills matter. And the Cambridge English Dictionary defines capabilities and skills as capability is the ability to do something, and it's complemented by the skill to do that something well. So you need both the capability and the skill when you're scaling out analytics. In McKinsey's view, successful analytics businesses had these 3 core capability groups within their organization. Notice how the circles of business, analytics, and capability overlap. This is because some of the capabilities required sit in between 2 or even 3 of the high-level groups. I'm going to talk about this in more detail a little bit later on. I actually don't feel that the McKinsey study goes far enough. In my experience, the capabilities and skills for your analytics center of gravity need to be broken down even further. So in addition to the intersecting business and analytics capabilities, they need to be supported by capabilities around people, data, technology, and process. And all of these require leadership to support and sponsor the overall strategy, and maybe even pay for it. If you don't have these other capability groups in place, you are going to struggle to scale out your strategy at pace. So let's dive into some further detail. Getting very specific now, this slide provides some example capabilities for each group. I won't talk through every one, but I will highlight just a few. In business, and remember, these are capabilities, they're not roles, they're not responsibilities, they are capabilities. in business, it's really important to have this analytics translator capability. This is someone that can talk equally about business problems and analytics well enough so that they have a foot in both camps, so they can effectively operate in both camps. This means that they are able to talk to the business when business facing and to analytics when speaking to the analytics team. Similarly, in analytics, and I saved your eyes with the colors on this, by the way, it's just the outline of the colors rather than the full color. I thought that might be a bit too much with my jacket as well. But similarly in analytics, the ability to capture and translate business problems, the second point here, is another key skill. And when speaking to business users, because you won't always have the business translator next to you, you have to be able to speak their language, otherwise you will struggle to get traction. I can't overemphasize how important people capabilities are to the success of any analytics initiative. If you don't keep people front and foremost in your thinking when you are extending out and scaling your analytics capabilities, you will really struggle to be successful. Nothing will change unless people are engaged and supported to easily and simply embrace the new way for analytics that you're going to be championing. Data is, of course, the foundation that everything else is built on. As Soha was saying, if you do not have accurate, trusted, complete, and timely data available to enable fact-based decisions, you will struggle. This is often why data and analytics are now being talked about in the same breath, or increasingly talked about in the same breath, and has recently led to the rise of chief data or chief data and analytics roles. Technology is also important, of course, and process. It's really important that the process supports the business rather than drowns it. So again, look at everything from a people perspective and have a process framework in place that supports your goals rather than restricts it. And finally, leadership, to help with the strategy, to sponsor the way forward and to advocate for it. So there's a lot of things on this slide. The good news is you don't have to do everything at once. You can start small but think big. Pick 2 or 3 capabilities from each element and start there. Then take a progressive approach to build out your organization's overall analytics capability over time. Capture value at every stage and publicize the difference you are making, as this will give you the right and bring you opportunities to do more in the future. Once you have a picture of the capabilities and skills required, then you have to make a decision as to where they sit within your business. This is often called the operating model, or you might hear it called the target operating model. These operating models are used to define an organization's moving parts and how they're going to work together. For analytics, it is critical to have an analytics operating model that is clearly defined and communicated and understood by all levels of the business. When you do communicate, don't be shy to share. God, that's hard to say on a Friday afternoon. Good job I haven't started drinking yet. Don't be shy to share where you are and where you are looking to be by when. The people you are speaking to will want to know what's in it for them and how it is going to make their lives easier. At Inmarsat, I use this color coding to communicate and to outline the current state and our target state that we were aiming for over the next 18 months to 2 years. It's important to note, as I mentioned earlier, that no one size fits all. You may have different operating models in different parts of the organization, and that's absolutely fine. And also that center doesn't necessarily mean that you have to physically cluster all of your analytics capabilities in a single team. As long as the operating model is clear about who is accountable for what and how the different teams are going to work together, that is also fine. In my experience, blended or hybrid models typically work best. And this is what this McKinsey study says as well. This is because the central capability or center of gravity is then able to provide the muscle across people, data, technology, and process for the business to exploit and consume data to gain the insights that they need and ask and answer their own questions. If you don't have this central core, analytics initiatives typically struggle to get traction as the business is too busy to get involved. You might also have called hybrid hub and spoke. So once you have your target operating model defined and understand the capabilities and skills, you can start to detail the roles and responsibilities relating to those capabilities. This is an extension of the McKinsey 3 circles from earlier, which show example roles that you might have in your analytics center of gravity. And remember, they don't necessarily all have to sit in within the same team. So for example, you might have data engineering, the people that are ingesting, transforming and storing the core company data in a data lake. They might be in a separate team, but you might work closely with them. So these are again just some examples. You might have other roles that you define for your particular team. And then you can use a matrix like this to bring everything together to be really clear and specific about the scope, the responsibilities and the capabilities of each team that you're going to have within your analytics COE operating model. And you also might too, in a matrix like this, define whether a capability or a team is centralized, decentralized, federated or hybrid, one of those models that was on the previous slide. But writing it down and communicating it so that everybody's clear is really important. I'm just going to take a leaf out of Zach's book and just grab a quick drink. I wasn't up until 3 o'clock in the morning, I just have to say, but all right. So in closing, I have 4 key takeaways for you. First, remember that you and your organization are special. By all means, look at what others have done and learn from those that have gone before you, but ensure that the path that you choose is specific and customized to your needs. So for example, in a recent role, I took Tableau's blueprints, but adjusted it to make sure that it communicated the vision I had for the analytics strategy. And this is what it looked like. Very similar, but subtly customized for what I was looking to communicate. I replaced agility with governance and made sure it was clear about what governance is about defining the roles, responsibilities, and controls to facilitate access to data and trust in the analytics platform, and this important element of balance between empowerment and control. The proficiency to onboard and educate and enable all types of users and community that we all know about. We're part of a community today, all of us on this call today, about the network of analytics users within the organization who collaborate and share. I'd also like to call out that I've been clear about the foundational elements on the left-hand side there that would then establish the basis that the rest of the roadmap will evolve into. So, foundation first, then evolve and scale. The second key takeaway is to start now. Plan out a challenging scope for a sensible period of time and start executing. Accept that you will learn lessons on the way about what is working and what is not. Measure and report on your success, celebrate successes, then iterate and repeat. This is a proven method to ensure that you start delivering value sooner rather than later. A number of organizations that I've worked for are making this transition, and it takes time to get people to buy into this way, especially when an organization in the past has spent a year thinking about a change, another year planning a change, and then maybe in year 3 getting to that change. Start now, learn as you go along, iterate, repeat. Third key takeaway is when you're looking to staff your COE, don't go seeking blessings, as in groups of unicorns. So those people, finding unicorns that have got all these skills that you need is very, very unlikely, except that establishing analytics at scale takes a team. Think about making your center of gravity, your analytics center of gravity, like a Formula 1 pit stop crew, where each individual is enabled, highly effective, and is contributing towards the common goal. And that is delivering your company's analytics strategy, which is supporting the overall business strategy. So think Formula 1 pit stops rather than unicorns. And finally, the fourth key takeaway and last key takeaway is remember that analytics is a people business. So look at everything with that lens and work towards giving your analytics community joy in their work. So in closing, I hope that I've achieved my objectives of providing you with some ideas and practical examples on the skills, capabilities, and roles required when extending or starting an analytics COE. If you do embark on this journey, I encourage you to have fun, work hard, and celebrate success. Dance in the street if that's what makes you happy, but whatever you do, enjoy the ride. Thanks very much.
Steve, that was brilliant. Thank you so much. If you all have questions for Steve, actually, I'm going to break my Q&A rule. Go ahead, put them in the chat box, because I want to make sure we bring Jenny on to start her talk. So Steve, thank you again for sharing this information. I loved how you looked at Blueprint and said, how does it work for my organization, and then tweaked it to make it work for you. So I thought that was brilliant.
Thank you, Emily. I don't want to pinch Jenny's time. Just thanks everybody for the compliments about the jacket. If you want to ping me on Twitter, I can definitely share the presentation if for those that want it, and I can certainly share that way.
All right, great. Thank you so much. All right, so we are